Well, we need to talk about this. This is not the news that any of us wanted, those of us who have been waiting for news of a new fourth Stargate show in the same canon, the same continuity as Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Stargate Universe. But there is some news to talk about this month, and it doesn't come from the studio, it doesn't come from Amazon or MGM announcing what they're going to do next with the Stargate franchise. Instead, it comes from executive producer Brad Wright. As you might be aware, Brad has written a script for a fourth live-action Stargate TV series that's set in the same canon. He was the co-creator of all three of the previous Stargate shows. He wrote a script in 2020 or so, and then just when he was ready to go out and start to pitch it to networks and streamers, the pandemic shut everything down, and it's kind of been gathering dust since then. So now, when Amazon finally completed its purchase of MGM earlier this year, in the spring of 2022, we all expected that they were going to do something with the Stargate franchise, and I do still think that they will. It's just looking less and less likely that it's going to be Brad's project. We'll talk about that today. If you want to support the channel, meanwhile, we're almost to 100,000 subscribers, so give this video a like, follow Gateworld on YouTube if you haven't subscribed already, and share this video with somebody you know who loves Stargate. So let's take a look at the latest news here from November 2022. We're over at our website at gateworld.net, and I'll leave a link to this page in the description below if you want to read the full article. But the headline coming from Brad on Twitter is this. Brad Wright says his new Stargate pilot is probably dead. He's now talking about this project that he's been waiting along with the rest of us to find out what the studio wants to do, if they're going to go ahead with this thing. It sounds like he's thinking that it's not going to happen. In other words, I've been hoping that since the deal with Amazon closed, maybe there were conversations at least starting in the background. Maybe Amazon was talking to MGM, lining up its plans with what to do with a high-profile IP like Stargate. And maybe they would say, hey, we've got this script ready. One of the co-creators of Stargate already made it, and the fans have been clamoring for it for years. We could go ahead and do this right now. That would involve, of course, talking to Brad and getting contracts set. The fact that Brad seems to indicate that he hasn't heard anything suggests either Amazon hasn't done anything with Stargate yet, there's no preliminary conversations, or they're going in a different direction, and those conversations don't involve him. So Brad Wright is now speaking of his new series in the past tense, stating that the pilot script is, quote, likely destined to gather dust. He commented on the state of the pilot script on social media earlier in November, giving the strongest indication yet that he hasn't had any of those active talks with Stargate's new owners. So a little bit of history about Brad here first, and then let's come down here and look at the tweet. In response to a fan who asked, is there any news about the possible new series? Here's what Brad said. You won't hear news from me. MGM did hire me to write a pilot for a new show, but that was just before COVID hit. Timing couldn't have been much worse. All the players have changed in the interim, so it's likely destined to gather dust. Would have been fun though. This is in line with a statement that Brad made on a companion live stream back in July, where he said in a kind of offhanded way that his script will probably never see the light of day. As I said, that seems to suggest that if there are any conversations happening right now about Stargate between Amazon and MGM, evidently they don't involve Brad. And Brad kind of hints at that when he says earlier in the week, MGM and Amazon will make another Stargate. It may just take some time for them to decide what they want to do, but they own it, not me. So if you want to see Brad's script come out in some form, of course MGM owns his script, and I don't think MGM is likely to be putting it out in any form, right? To releasing it to fans just because, or to have it turned into a novel. As cool as that would be to see Brad's vision of what the Stargate universe looks like so many years down the road. Or more than 10 years now since Stargate Universe went off the air. It's been, 15 years since we checked in with the SGC? And Atlantis, last time we saw Atlantis, it was still on the surface of Earth outside of San Francisco Bay. It'd be great to see what happened to Atlantis, confirmed that it did go back to the Pegasus galaxy. and continue the fight with the Wraith. So what I suggest here at the end of this article is, broadly speaking, 3 possible scenarios suggest themselves for where Stargate could go in the future. One is that maybe they just haven't gotten to Stargate yet. They've been looking at Bond and Rocky and a bunch of other things, and Stargate just hasn't been the priority. So when they get to Stargate, well, they might go to Brad, and they might turn to a script like this that's already done. If it's in development hell right now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be there forever necessarily. It doesn't mean that it's right. This is just the way the industry works. Something could look like it's completely dead until the next week when it's not, and suddenly somebody wants to know if you can put together a writer's room in 5 days. Second possibility, maybe more likely, is that the studio has looked at Brad's pitch and decided that they want to do something else with the Stargate franchise. So they could go to new creatives to pitch a totally new direction for Stargate. That doesn't necessarily mean a reboot. It could be rebooting the IP from the ground up. It could be starting over, wiping the slate clean, or it could be some form of continuation of what's come before. It could be new creatives, new writers and producers who are trying to stay in line with the existing continuity. That's what, of course, modern day Star Trek and Star Wars are trying to stay within the historical continuity of what's come before. I'm sure you have opinions on their relative success, so put them in the comments. But it could work for Stargate. Third and finally, studio execs, if they're not interested in producing Brad's 2020 script, but they still want to stick with Brad, fandom, after all, has been very vocal that we want Brad's Stargate. We want a continuation of the universe that was created and shepherded for so many years by the likes of Brad Wright and Jonathan Glassner, Joe Malazzi, Paul Mully, Robert Cooper. We want the characters and the world building that we've spent over 300 hours with in television and film. So they could stick with Brad, but go back and ask him to pitch something different than the script that he already has. That's another possibility. As to which one of these is more likely, I guess it's anybody's guess. Let me know what you think down in the comments. So again, no news is maybe bad news in this case. Brad Wright seems to think that because there's been no forward momentum on this project, it's probably not going to happen. Whether or not Amazon and MGM are actually in active development on something else, we don't know. But we'll be sure to keep our ears to the ground and report any solid, reliable intel that we have over on our website at gateworld.net. Be sure to follow us there, subscribe to the channel. We'll do it here as well. And we're almost to 100,000, so thank you to everybody who's subscribed. Thank you to folks who are signing up just now. I don't know what to do for our 100,000 milestone. Why don't you tell me in the comments what you want to do? Should we try and do a live stream or a celebration video? Tell me what you want to do and how Gateworld can continue to best serve this community. We're here for you. We're looking forward to 2023. Yeah, I'm still optimistic. I'm still looking forward to the future of the Stargate franchise in whatever form it takes. I just wish that Amazon and MGM would do something, would at least give some signal that Stargate is a priority and is a valuable brand for them to continue to do something with. Anyway, leave it all in the comments, and I'll see you down there, and we'll see you in the next one.